Hey everybody, Charlie902 here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we pressed we pressed the witnesses, and it caused 4 of the 6 jurors to already make their minds up that Mr. McGilded is guilty. Upon pressing the last juror, we were presented with this knife as evidence, and we are going to continue inspecting this knife and see what we can dig up. Oh, well, that idea was quickly quashed, and that's the idea that this M could be a W, even though it looks like a W to me. Let's take the knife out of the scabbard, the sheath. That part is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Huh? Oh, sorry, yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh. Those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. It's not a blade. That's Kazuma's soul. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Very ornate. Let's turn this around. Oh, that looks like a lot of blood. It surely is blood. The victim's. An Englishman's blood looks a lot like Japanese man's blood? Yeah. We all bleed the same there, guy. You think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. It doesn't look like, for the size of this knife, this seems very heavy here. It seems like this would have to be inserted further to stick out the way it did, but maybe I'm just looking too much into things. Nothing on the end. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, what we need more than anything at this moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But, alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Oh, I hit D. I didn't mean to hit D, I meant to hit over. Alright, so when it happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin were the victim and the defendant. And so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be? Before we jump to conclusion, our first task should be to gather information. Alright, she said all this before, so I'm going to skip past it. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. Do we have anything to present? I mean, we've already pressed them all, right? The victim and the man accused of killing him were set next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife into his guts. So, man, do we have... Let's look at the photo. So he's sitting on the side with the lettering there. Let's go back. Which means, according to this, let's go inside. Okay, so yes, he's sitting right here. Huh. Which means that these guys would have had to be sitting at the back here. Both of them, right? And why would y'all be sitting facing the other way there? Let's go out. Yeah, we've seen enough. Let's step outside. Just trying to piece together here how we can defeat this. I'm not really seeing a way. They would have had to been sitting here to see this guy here. And our guy would have had to be sitting right here. The driver had no way to see it. Yes, that's the part. How do we go back? It's last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. He wouldn't have been able to see it. So let's present. Let's present the carriage as evidence. Oh, wait, back. How do I present it? I gotta hit R.
Objection!
That reveals a damning inconsistency, that last statement. Damning, you say? So look at you, counsel. I see your trembling hand, your pallid expression, and your perspiring brow. Huh? Seems to me that is the damning inconsistency here, with the misplaced confidence of your assertion. No, I'm right. The driver could not have seen that. He has a damning tongue. You invited, sir. No, that has to be right. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. He wouldn't have been able to see it. He stabbed him. I screamed. I did. I couldn't help it. Out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife into his guts. We can press them again. Does that do anything? Or maybe I didn't press this one yet.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. These guys look fine. And by the passenger, obviously you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason the brickmaker. And then the other passenger had the knife in his hand, like this. Like that. Are you sure? Is that consistent with how the glove is? By the other passenger, obviously you're referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. Okay, so the gloves do... Yeah, we need to change that. What? So you had time to stop and watch that? My lord, I wish to speak. Oh, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Yes, juror number 5. Do I take it that you too, as the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me? It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse is bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind a little. Gee up now, Silverblaze. The finish is in sight. Isn't exactly fair, is it? Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then, pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. Gilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He's always done wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a schlock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the crows. McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys upon the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had made to make use of public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious. The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken away from him: his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Miss Usato, you claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where's the evidence to support your claim? Of course you got blood there. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. Hallowed chalice? Aha, there it is. Lord Van Seek's hallowed chalice. I feel like we're watching like a WCW or WWF match, as called WWE nowadays. I'm dating myself. With the over-the-top theatrics and characters here. How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Once again, why are you being so racist? Why is everybody racist in this game? As a judicial assistant to the defense, I'm simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accursed. Or, not accursed, accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. Okay, so why would you do it if it's a discourtesy? A marvelous toast, Counselor. I will gladly accept this new evidence. The debtor's ledger has been entered into the court record, a catalog of people who had borrowed money from the defendant at a high rate of interest. It includes the victim, who owed 20 guineas. Ah, yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. Let's look at it. Court record. Catalog of people who had borrowed money. All right, we already read that. Before we unclasp it, let's turn it around. Just make sure we look at everything. All right, unclasp. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear. Do you really think we ought to look inside? No, we should just throw it on the ground. Come on, look inside. Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes's name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Wonder if this is written in Eastern style, right to left instead of left to right. Let's just click on the page, I guess. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness. What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Bruce Fairplay. Okay. Should that mean something to me? That's the banker, right? Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Oh, so I got it. They all want to condemn him to erase their debts. They did it. Okay. Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. The details of the debtor's ledger have been updated in the court record. Among the defendant's list of debtors is Bruce Fairplay, who would have been due to repay his loan imminently. If we look at this side, is anything different? Gosh, it's the same thing. Bruce Fairplay. All right. So, I think that's it for that. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Was killing the dude recompense, though? Like, what did he stand to gain from actually killing him? Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accursed. Method of operation. And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Or are we gonna... Still. Maybe it's all for the best. Ah, wait a minute. Let's think about this a little more before... I don't stand for nonsense. What, did we just lose the case? That was it. Last juror's decision. She's going to read something that's going to save us. Ah, according to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. Ah, the final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in the case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections. Susato's going to object. Miss Susato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You're in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. We'll do that then. A summation? Examination? Conflagration? Exaltation?
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Ah! Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. I don't think we're out of luck. What even is it, Miss Susato? This so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. Don't be racist! Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceeding to the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But then the procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. Well, as long as it's still law, we can still use it. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. Exclamation point. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? I mean, it's our only shot. Let's give it a shot. A summation examination, our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Assert our right. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. Okay. And what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried. Why?
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. What is a man? Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Eh? Well, I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so... All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all this justifying lark. It seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them had experienced this before. All right then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of his most serious crime. All right, let's do it. Summation examination. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. See, that's a different holding of the knife than what the carriage driver was saying. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a unified front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. All right, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. 4 times 4 is not 20. We're going to talk about this next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or a subscribe. Stay tuned for next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.